I got headbutted at Thrum Hall playing against Halifax. And when I pulled my mouth guard out, my front tooth came out and I was devastated. I couldn't believe it. Devastated. For the next, 2 days, I was just walking around with my...
There goes your Hollywood career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Luke, thanks for joining me, mate. Mate, you're a free man now. You just sold Goldberg's Cafe. You've had it for 17 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Handed the keys over last week.
Yeah, last Sunday. And firstly, thanks for having me on, mate.
Pleasure.
It's an honour to be here. First time in 17 and a half years. I'm a relatively free man. So
Was it a burden in the end, or was it...
I wouldn't say a burden. It got tough. It was I was exhausted, burnt out, just with dealing with people, staff.
Yeah.
The landscape of hospitality had changed a lot with costs of goods, wages, all that sort of thing. So it was a real slog, probably ever since COVID.
Yeah.
But look, I had an incredible time in my 17 years at Goldberg's. It provided myself and my kids with a wonderful lifestyle. But yeah, sometimes things don't last forever, so it was time for a change.
Did you're the sort of person that surprises a lot of people that you're pretty hands on. You're always there. Where a lot of people that own cafes, they just let it run itself.
Yeah.
So was that important to you to be always there?
Absolutely. I think it's in any sort of team environment like that. It's like it starts at the top. So it's like I wasn't afraid to do anything, and then in that regard, my staff would look and go, "Oh wow, he's not afraid. He owns a place, but he's not afraid to clean the toilets or pick up rubbish or whatever." So, but I was blessed in the regards that Goldberg's was such an iconic business and had been around for such a long time and had such an amazing customer base and some great staff, long-serving staff that I could actually, when there was times that it permitted, I could go away and it would run itself. But if I had to be there, I was always hands-on. But if there was an opportunity that arose and I wanted to go away, it allowed that. So,
did you buy that when you came back to play for the Knights? Had you already bought that, or was that after your career?
No, that was after my career. So I was a regular at Goldberg's. I used to love going there for a big breakfast and a mug of flat white. I can remember. I've actually with Brian Carney and Matt Gidley.
Yeah.
We'd often go there after games for on our way to rehab, and we'd sit there and it would be packed, on a Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. And I remember Brian Carney go, "Fuck me," he goes, "Imagine owning this place." He said, "Mate, this bloke's fucking rolling in it." And I can still remember as clear as day, just sitting there. And then I retired, and then about a few months later, I was doing a few little similar things, mobile coffee carts and whatnot, and the owner approached me and just said, "Look, I think you'd be a good fit." And I came from a background of small business, so I always knew post football I'd want to be my own boss.
Was that important too? A lot of players, probably nowadays too, they're probably not looking to after career. Not everyone gets into the media.
Yeah.
Very, very, very few. And they've got to be really good. So it's important to have that, even in a trade.
Yes.
Yeah,
and there's things in place now with the rugby league. They're getting better and better with education, with players post football. I actually didn't know what I wanted to do, and I even tell my kids at 52 I still don't know what I want to do. But I had a bit of a plan and a bit of an idea, but you just don't know. The environment can change, so quickly. But I think if you've got a good work ethic and you're prepared to roll your sleeves up, I think no matter what comes along, you'll make a good fist of it. So
what I loved about that place is that it sort of shows, I suppose your leadership there is that you could go away for 3 years, come back, and you nearly got the same people working there.
Absolutely, and that speaks volumes, I guess, of the business. But and sometimes you don't like to take credit for that. But people used to say, "Well, that's a reflection on you as a boss," which was nice to hear. But yeah, there was a stage there where I did take my girls away over to Italy for 4 months, and I came back and the place didn't skip a beat. So I should have done it more often.
And you had some pretty big names in there. David Beckham.
Yeah. Bex was probably the top of the list. That was an amazing experience. That was an amazing experience when Bex came in, and I wasn't expecting it at all. I knew he was in town, and a friend of mine, that's my son Bailey, and I wasn't even going to go in when he first came into town. They told me he was in Goldberg's. I got a phone call from the manager.
Because that's when he came out with LA Galaxy.
Galaxy,
Lubo Milosevic.
Yeah, Lubo wouldn't leave his side. He was like a bad smell.
Yeah. To have someone like that in your cafe, like, geez, I would have been putting that on as a mural on my wall.
It's crazy. Well, I mean, most people probably would, but myself, I suppose when you've been in the sporting spotlight, God, not to that extent, but you understand how it must feel for him. So when they first rang and said he's here, I said, just put him at the back, leave him alone, give him what he wants, and it's okay. And they said, are you going to come in? I said, no, I'm not going to bother him, because he'd get that all the time.
What did he order?
He had a rump steak. I think they all had a rump steak. And that's the thing. The next day, the radio stations were ringing my phone, just going, what did he have? What did he have? And I didn't answer the calls, because that night he was such a humble human. He just said, thank you so much, mate. He said, that's Irish.
You're speaking like Carney.
That's it. He's hard to shake. But he was just so humble. He said, thank you so much. This is the most peace and quiet I've had for a long time. Yeah. And we just sat there and had, half a dozen beers and told some yarns. And, it was an amazing experience. He's a good guy.
I bet his cutlery went missing at the end of the night.
A lot of things went missing, I think, yeah.
David had this in his mouth.
But, so we had, you get all sorts of stuff, all sorts of people and characters that come into Goldberg's. And I think that was one of the attractions. You could have businessmen in suits, but sitting next to them, you could have, a homeless person off the street just having their coffee or whatever, and everyone would just stick to themselves. Daniel Johns was always from Silverchair, was always a regular. Yeah, he's a great guy.
It's funny. I ran into it. Well, I didn't run into it. There was a press conference at the Crown Plaza in Terrigal just back a few years ago, and there was an Italian manager, former Italy manager for soccer, who was coaching a Chinese team, and his name escapes me, but he got asked the question, how do you like the Central Coast? And he said, I love it, because this is one of the few places in the world where no one knows who I am.
Yes.
And you have to think about that and go, wow.
Yeah. The anonymity is amazing. And that's, again, on a lesser extent, I'm probably more known in Newcastle now for Goldberg's than actually playing footy. Yeah. And, and it's a wonderful thing. Newcastle's a great community, but sometimes you just can't walk. Even going for a morning walk, you see your regulars and everyone just wants to stop and have a chat. And and it's just nice to get a break from that every now and then. That's why when you go away, even down to Sydney or...
And if you don't stop to have a chat, you feel like you're being rude.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes you can betray yourself because you want to stick to yourself, but you feel obliged. So it's I don't have to worry about that anymore now.
Just sticking with the Central Coast, that's where you grew up, wasn't it? Before you went to Canberra.
Yeah, absolutely. Born at Gosford Hospital, born and bred on the Central Coast, so raised at Baddo Bay. We lived on 27 acres there in Baddo Bay. It was a nice little upbringing. Had motorbikes and horses. Mum and Dad started separating, I suppose, when I was about seven or eight, through to about 11. Then 11, when I was 11, Mum got remarried, married a school teacher, and then I came home one day, I remember, with my brand new surfboard and all my brand new surfing gear, and I walked in the door and Mum was on the telephone bawling her eyes out. I went, what's happening? She was like, we're moving to Young, which was like, I thought it was like country and western. It was like there'd still be carts, tumbleweed rolling down the streets, the dirt streets. But my stepfather got a transfer as a school teacher, so we moved to Young. So I spent about all my high school years in Young, and then if you didn't get out of Young, you probably never got out of there. Yeah. So the big transition from people in Young was to move to Canberra. That was sort of the big city.
Yeah.
So I moved to Canberra. I moved to Canberra for work. I never played footy. I got a job in the Bureau of Statistics. And yeah, there's some
Why am I laughing?
There's some stories there. There's some stories there. I got a traineeship in information technology, and I knew it wasn't for me from the first day I went to TAFE, and they were teaching us about what angle to staple papers correctly and how to sticky tape stuff, and I just went, wow. So
just sticking with your childhood, you was it a happy childhood?
It was. There was. It was. Yeah, it's funny how you look back. Obviously, there's things that shape you, your lifestyle and your outlook on life, and how you're ingrained. There was some domestic violence in my childhood growing up, and with separation. There's things that happen with kids moving house. Some upheaval there, and it can affect kids in different ways. I look back on my life and my childhood as, I wouldn't change a thing. It's made me who I am today. If you ask someone else, my sister's probably affected a bit differently. But, yeah, there was there's nothing more than most people probably deal with growing up in their life,
It's still domestic violence. I mean, it's obviously very prominent these days as well. And trying to stamp it out. Yeah. So did you witness it?
I did, yeah.
So was your stepfather?
Stepfather was very abusive when when dealing with alcohol. So when he'd come home drunk and was abusive towards my mother. And, unfortunately one night there I had to get involved as a 14, 15-year-old. And, the police were called a number of times and, went through the stages with trying to support your mum and, be a pillar for her. That, there was that's it, never again. And then that cycle would occur where, stepfather would come back in the house, start drinking again and more violence. And so it wasn't a good time. But then looking back now, because I've done a lot of work on, my self-worth and looking back on your lifestyle and what made you the way you are, it's funny how as a child you just disassociate or you go to different places to block that out. Yep. So, not nice for anyone. And, as you said, domestic violence, it's great now that this day and age there's so much awareness about it and so much education because there's no place for it at all in society. It's disgusting. But in saying that, as I said, I look back and in me it's given me a bit of a steely resolve and a determination. And, obviously when you have children and stuff and relationships of your own to make sure that you evolve and you don't go down that path. So
just sticking with your lifestyle, you look fitter now than what you ever did when you were playing. What's going on?
Looks can be deceiving, I tell you. If I went to run 10 metres, I'd probably tear a hamstring. But no, look, I do look after myself.
Yep.
And I think that's another thing post-football and in your life. People either choose to stay healthy and use it as a lifestyle or they, a lot of guys, as you said, particularly old footballers go and sit on a bar stool and have their 8 or 10 schooners a day. But no, and as you get older, I've changed. I don't flog myself as much anymore, and that's ingrained in you too as a professional sportsman that you think, to achieve something you've got to go and hammer yourself, as in training wise. As you get older, just modifying. I do a lot more probably calming things now, I suppose. I do a lot of yoga, do a lot of meditation, stretching, non-load bearing stuff, swimming, walking. So I think the 3 key things that I always try and do well and, is eating well, sleeping well and moving. You do those 3 things, I think you're not going too bad.
We had a chat the other day. You mentioned that you're on peptides.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first thing I went, most people do when they hear peptides because it was so prominent. My ears pricked up. I went, whoa, what? what's
Yeah, well, there's a big there's like a stigma around peptides that they're illegal or you're cheating or something like that. You're enhancing yourself in a wrong way. But I believe that peptides. This is a thing that since I've got out of Goldberg's, it's now allowed me to sort of have a clean slate, and I've got the capacity now to start looking at other avenues and whatnot. So peptides is something that started interest me about maybe 2 years ago. I mean, we'd heard stuff about them years prior to when they made the headlines for probably all the wrong reasons. But
I mean, they are banned from WADA from a lot of sports.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a place for peptides, obviously not in sport, but for lifestyle and optimising the way you want to feel, particularly when you've done my line of work as rugby league. As you get older, you get aches and pains. You just want to feel well. And so that's what I started going down that avenue so that I could still train well, recover better, feel well. And it's not even about physical. It's there's peptides there for cognitive function, for clarity, for immunity. So I went down the right avenues and just started really sort of getting a passion for that. So I've slowly, just organically, things are just unfolding now that I've got nothing to do. I'm just deep diving into the research, just trying to get more knowledge. But that's what a lot of people say to me, like come and say, geez, you're looking good. What are you doing with yourself? And I'm like, well, first and foremost, I look after myself. But if you want a bit of the cherry on top, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm actually taking therapeutic peptides. Yeah. And they're like, oh, wow. So,
but it'd be a different story if you weren't looking after yourself and you wanted that cherry.
Yeah, 100%. If you're not looking after yourself, I tell people don't waste your time because these peptides aren't a magic pill. They're just the cream on the top. So if you do those three things and do them relatively well, like I say to people, I still live my life. Like I sort of go on the basis of maybe 80-20. 80% of the time I'm looking after myself really well. 20% of the time, I'll have a beer, I'll have a red wine, and then when you do that, you don't beat yourself up. When you do that as well, peptides can help you recover. Their mechanisms for recovery are out of this world.
Have you other people that have been on them and they've recovered from certain injuries?
Lots of people. I think the peptides will be mainstream in 5 years, I believe, like with what's coming out. But yeah, I've pushed friends down that path and recommended them to, look into it and they've got on them. I had a friend that cut his finger off and I'm calling him an axolotl because it's like he's like his finger's grown back. It's ridiculous. Another couple got a cancer cut out, smashed his leg. They've gone to the doctors and the doctors have gone like, what the bloody hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Your recovery is amazing. Yeah. So
you mentioned cancer though, but there is, you look it up and you read up. It said there's increased risk of certain cancers. That's probably another thing that makes people go.
That is, that makes people really scared, I suppose, and cautious. And they say, that peptide, and I'm no doctor. I'm just speaking what I understand of it. And I always suggest if people have any questions, go and do your research. But from what I understand, they're not cancer causing. But if you have a tendency to have cancer or something in your family bloodline, or you've had a history of cancer, there's certain ones there that will promote growth. So don't take them. Yeah. So in that regard, if you've got any doubts about that, steer clear.
I mean, obviously the scandal, with the Cronulla Sharks, Essendon, is it performance enhancing? Because again, it's more about recovery. It's not like with steroids you're getting bulkier. You can see that is performance enhancing. Yeah. But this is more getting you back on the park quicker. Yeah. Can you see down the track more sports using that, or is it just that grey area?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a grey area, and that's not for me to pass judgment, I suppose. But yeah, performance enhancing, as you said, if it helps your muscles recover quicker, get you on the paddock. Is that an unfair advantage? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have liked to have seen people using them when I was playing. I think sport is, as I said, there's a use for peptides, and I don't think it's around sport if it's performance enhancing. Yeah. So, but I know for me now, I've got no guilt whatsoever because I want to live the best I can to the rest of my days run out. I tell my friends I want to live like a lion. I don't want to walk around like bent over and, struggling.
I was going to say, older footballers, it's been the news a lot now, with head injuries and, how's your brain going? Is it?
Where are we again? Yeah, look, you do have those moments where you, because you hear about it a lot, and you can go to walk to the fridge to get something out of the fridge, and you go, hang on, what was I doing? But I think that's just normal for everyone. There's a bit of degeneration in your cognitive function and your memory. But
how many times would you have been knocked out in your career?
Too many to remember.
Yeah,
too many to remember. So every now and then it is a worry, and it's different. Rugby league's a tough sport played by tough people, and back then it was a badge of honour, to stay on the field because But I think now, I think the way they're going with the head knocks and that is the right way. They're probably being a bit too picky, with the. That's just my opinion. With the you hit him around the neck, you're off for 10 minutes. But yeah, look.
But does it worry you? You see people like Murray Affinek. He's in a bad way.
Yeah.
And I remember when he was working for the NRL, and I was in Sydney working for Channel 10, and we had to do there was some sort of scandal at Souths, and we wanted obviously a former Souths player to have a chat.
Yeah.
So I rang up the NRL headquarters, and they said, we'll bring him out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we'll bring him out.
Yeah.
Hang on, why did he just come out by himself? But someone was with him.
Yeah.
And this is before anything was brought up about his problem.
Yeah.
And I was told that, sometimes he doesn't come back.
Yeah.
And that's when he was still working for the NRL.
Yeah.
And even they knew at the time, there was something, and it's so sad the way it's almost like you fall off that cliff and it just goes.
Yeah, the rapid decline. But I think, look, if you ask Mario and any guys that have played rugby league, would they change a thing? They'd say, no, they'd do it all again. It's just, again, I just look at it and go, well, if it's you've got to accept that with it's the nature of the beast with the sport we played. That's it. I mean, there's some funny stories. I remember Jack Newton, God love him, and he ended up getting dementia and a decline of his memory and whatnot. And it's funny, he escaped one night from their premises where they were living in Newcastle Harbour, and he went straight to Goldberg's. And they rang me and they rang the police because they couldn't find him.
Yeah.
Anyway, they found Jack at Goldberg's, and he's there.
Was he sleeping on the back?
No, he was out the front. He was out the front, and he ordered a bacon egg roll, and they said they gave it out to him. They brought it out, he ate it, and then they came back and they said, "Oh, can we get you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm still waiting on my bacon egg roll." And they go, "No, you had it." He goes, "Pig's ass." So you got to make light of the situation, and I've always been brought up that if you don't laugh, you cry.
Yeah.
And there's a time and a place to be serious about stuff. But, life's too short to take too seriously.
Another sport that you've sort of been getting into the last few years is climbing mountains.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I love that. That's a real, I guess it's my form of escape in regards, and just making new memories. Yeah, I said so. I think it was ingrained in me. I always had a bit of a calling to Nepal. I said when I grew up, I remember my dad going to Kathmandu and coming back from there when my mum and dad split up.
Yep.
So there's always something calling me to Nepal, and so I went there in about 2013 and went to Camp 1 just past base camp, Everest Base Camp, and then I think that just got the juices flowing, the climbing mountains. So I've done a few now. There's Base Camp 1, and then I went with my son and Mark Fitzgibbon and his son Lachlan, who now playing for the Warrington Wolves. We went and did what's that bloody mountain in Africa, the highest one? Kilimanjaro. Yeah. So we climbed Kilimanjaro. That was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Done the highest mountain in South America, Aconcagua.
What's next? You got one coming up? Or?
Well, I'd like to do the El Camino, which is the sabbatical walk from the top of France into Spain. It's like 800 kilometres, 30-odd days, and it's just a nice walk people do it as a pilgrimage to, whatever. Some people do it through loss of a loved one or sort of a healing walk. So that's what I'd like to do. I've got that penciled in for maybe March or April next year with my best mate, my bestie, Jace Burnham. He's an ex-Raiders player. So that's my treat to myself post hospitality career.
Yeah, well, you got plenty of time now.
Lots of time. So,
mate, people die on those mountains, you'd be climbing past,
Well, that's half the, and that's half the excitement or challenge as well, knowing that, you don't want to just do an easy one, but knowing that there can be a risk involved.
Yeah.
Sort of keeps you on your edge of your pants.
Yep.
I think I remember being up on our way to Aconcagua, and I always used to go underprepared, and one day they
deliberately going under.
Well, no, just because that was just me. I've been in Kokoda. I didn't take a sleeping bag or anything, and I used an empty apple juice bottle as my pillow. Anyway, I was up at the top of Aconcagua, and the winds were 120 kilometres an hour, and it was minus 24 degrees. I had no balaclava on, no goggles, and I remember these guys. And when I posted the video, people used to say to me, "You do that for fun?" It's like, but it's just it's an amazing experience. Like, it's sort of, you get back to what your core is, back to Mother Nature.
Yep.
Away from all the hustle and bustle, and it's just you and Mother Earth.
It's amazing because you've lived this life, as a footballer, and we're going to get into that. So some of these times that you've had.
Yeah.
And then you can, you're up on the side of a mountain meditating.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah. Well, even some of my great friends, Mark Fitzgibbon again, he refers to me as an enigma. He goes, 1 minute you're out disappearing, having a party for 3 days. He said, next minute you're at the beach meditating or doing whatever. And I guess that's just, I suppose I've just got, I'm relatable, I suppose, to so many things because I'm not afraid to try anything.
Yeah.
And that's those things that appeal to me. I think it's just in my character. Versatility, I suppose.
Well, we're going to talk about a few of those times now. And you've already spoken about this a few times, so it's out there, But I just want to re-go through it again. You're 1994. You get cut out of the squad.
Yep.
From Tim Sheens, the 1994 grand final against Canterbury,
yep.
And so you're not playing.
Yeah.
So but you still decide to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Sheensy. I trained with the first grade side up into the semis, and then they Tim kept you on an extended bench and kept you in the carrot. And then you're not playing this week, and then I think they won the first two semis, and we never got a look in. So I went, bugger this for a joke. And then the next semi against North Sydney, Johnny Lomax got sent off, and so we'd stopped going to training. And then I remember. This was back in the day when you had answering machines, and we come home from one night from going out. I think we'd been on the drink, and there was a message there from Tim Sheens, and it was like, "Is that you?" And why haven't you been at training? I want you to train tomorrow morning. And I went, "Oh, okay." So went to training, trained all week again. Got smashed by Mal and the boys. Doing a pose, and I was going, bloody hell. Anyway, knew I was probably no chance of playing.
Yeah.
Then Tim said at the end, "Look, I've decided to take Aussie. I still want you to be on the bench. There's no room on the plane, but you can make your own way down, mate." And I was going, really? And he's going, take your boots, take your mouth guard, because you never know. So I rang my dad, and he was going, I said, "Dad, I'm just coming down the night before." Anyway, long story short, we got on the drink. We got hammered that night. Woke up with a massive headache, went to the game. Was in Bay 41 having a few schooners, and Tim had asked us to go around and sit in the dugout anyway. I said, "Yeah, that's fine." And then when we walked around there, and we passed a heap of people on the way, Craig Bellamy, and just had a chat to people. And I was all foot done up in my jeans and denim shirt. Yeah. And then next thing, when we sat in the dugout, Tim turned around and saw us, and he went, "You're in the program. You're in the program. Go get your gear on."
Hang on, how many beers in were you?
About half a dozen. Yeah. So. And then I said, "Oh, no, it's okay." And he goes, "Did you bring your boots?" And I actually did bring my boots just in case. Yeah. So I had to go up the dressing shed, get changed. He sent Mark. I said, I can't go get my boots or anything. And so he turned to my mate who was with me, Mark Corvo, And he's like, course, go get his boots. So he went, oh. So he had to walk all the way to the car and get my boots. So when he came back and got my boots, I went, what about my mouth guard? Anyway, he's gone, course, go get his mouth guard. So he had to walk about another 5 Ks to get my mouth guard. Next thing, they're out warming up, and then that was it. We're on.
Yeah.
And down the tunnel, I can still remember coming last out of the dressing rooms.
Yeah.
And the camera's behind me down the tunnel. I'm just going, what is happening? And as we came down the tunnel, I went to just do a quick left into the dugout and then Sheensy just grabbed me and went, go, get out there, soak it up. I'm just gone. So I've bolted out, rolled the shoulders, roll. Oh, you're right there. Rolled the shoulders, doing the hamstring kicks and stuff, and it was just surreal. And I remember the next thing we were all lined up, arm in arm, and I could see my head on the TV, and I could see Craig Bellamy up in the Bay 9. I think I was looking down. He's going, "What the fuck are you doing down there?" Next thing, so.
But you never got on.
Never got
on.
on.
But you still got a ring.
Still got a ring.
Yeah.
Well, back in those days it was a medal.
Oh, it was metal. Yeah, that's right.
I couldn't put there. It is. I couldn't push enough people out of the way to get up there.
If you didn't play, it's exactly what I would have done. I would have said, I'm just saying, get up on that stage in case they run out of those things.
Yeah, that's what I was. I was like, because I was 20, just going, I know I'm going to get a Winfield Cup medallion. So I got my medallion. It was an amazing experience.
But it's funny, after that, the next year, I think you were Rookie of the year after.
Yeah.
So you've already, although you didn't play, Is that not a regret, the fact that, you never got to play in a grand final since that day?
It's probably indicative of my career, so close yet so far, because, I got picked for country New South Wales, got injured in camp. Yeah. I got picked for New South Wales, got injured the day before they picked the team. I got into the Kangaroos train-on squad and just didn't get picked, for whatever reason. And then, was close to winning a grand final and just missed out. So, and then went to Wigan to start a new career and got injured. So it was almost, it was a career of, so close yet so far. So, there's still times where I wake up in the middle of the night and I have dreams constant. So it's in my subconscious maybe that I just didn't quite make it or, just wasn't good enough or those thoughts that go through your head. But, look, when you wake up and I look back and go, some people, because when you first start out on your career, all you want to do is play one first grade game.
Yeah.
And once you play one, you go, holy dooly, I feel like I'm satisfied now. I can, But then as it gets on, you obviously get more and more. And you want to achieve higher accolades. And then, so. Yeah.
You mentioned Craig Bellamy, he said statue.
Yeah.
He's the guy that made that.
Bellyache gave him a nickname.
How'd that happen?
Yeah. Well, he was my first coach in under 21s, and he was still as intense back then as he is now. Anyway, we were looking at trial footage of trial videos, the games we'd played, and there's this bloke that just kept getting into marker, and then this bloke's just running around him. He's just fully gassed, and his Bellyache's going, "Who the fucking hell is that? Wind that video back." Fuck.
So this was under 21s?
Under 21s.
In Canberra.
Yeah, President's Cup.
So this was pretty much his first gig as a coach?
This is his first gig.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, and I was going, oh, no. I was on the floor. I remember lying on the floor looking at these videos going, please don't rewind it back. And he'd go, rewind it back again. Who is that? Anyway, he goes, oh, Davico. He said, you're standing there like a rock. He said, like a statue waiting for a bird, like a bird to shit on your head. And then he'd go, wind it fucking back. Yeah. Here he is again. Look at him, the fucking statue.
And that stuck with everyone.
And it just stuck. And then, anyway, he gave a few other good nicknames. Simon Wolford was the germ, because all halfbacks coming into grade had either the germ or the virus or the bug. And then I still remember it was like a badge of honour, because I walked out the next day out of the training shed and all the first graders were there. And Mal just walked past and went, oh, here he is, the statue. I just went, Mal just said my name, yes, yeah. And so it's stuck ever since. And to this day, if someone calls out Luke, I probably takes me a while to register.
Yeah. And you're still good mates with Craig. I think it was a shot. He was
Yeah, yeah.
You went to,
Great mates with Bellyache.
Uluru.
Yeah. We climbed Ayers Rock together for his 60th birthday.
Yeah.
He wanted to do that, and typical Bellyache fashion, we climbed it once, and he couldn't sit still. It was an amazing trip, and he had a split round. So it's funny because he came after the Storm played here in Newcastle, and he said, "I'll just come and stay at your house." And we didn't have a spare bed, so he slept on the lounge. And so my kids come home and told their kids, "Craig Bellamy's sleeping on our lounge." I can't believe it. That was their school. That was their school story for the day. But yeah, we went up there, climbed it, and when we finished, we got back to the hotel. And Bellyache got bored. He goes, "You want to go back and climb it again?" I said, "Like he's just because he's a fitness freak."
Well, I was going to say, what's he like? Because people, I suppose, they see that persona as coaches. Same like with Ricky Stewart, I suppose.
Yes.
Same, they see what they see, and most of the time you're seeing him, in the box blowing up.
Yeah, no, he's such a humble guy, completely different. Doesn't talk about footy unless asked when he's away from the game. He just talks more about how you're travelling, your family, a few old stories.
Because when you came back from Wigan, you had a few clubs after you before you signed with the Knights, and one was the Melbourne Storm. So was that an easy decision? Like he could have went and played with him again.
It was a hard decision. I went down to Melbourne, and if I had probably been thinking of my career, I should have gone to Melbourne. Yeah. But at that stage, even in the back of my mind, I thought my better days were behind me, and I wasn't real confident with my pec injury.
Yeah.
So it was more for me about lifestyle after post-football.
Yeah.
So I came to Newcastle, being from the Central Coast. I always knew I wanted to get back to the beach. And I came to Newcastle, and within about 3 hours, I just went, "Oh wow, this is a great place. This is where I want to be." Yeah. So it wasn't solely based on winning football games decision, which ended up working out quite the reverse, because we had a great year when I came here. It was one of the best years of football that I've ever enjoyed. Yeah. With Joey and Danny Badiris, and I think we came second or third, and.
But was that hard telling Bellyache that you weren't playing for his team?
It was. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, all right then, fuck off."
At Elk Architecture, we don't just design buildings, we shape the spaces where life happens. From concept to construction, our award-winning architects bring our vision to life with precision, passion, and purpose. Whether it's your dream home or your next big commercial project, trust Elk Architecture to build what matters most. Elk Architecture, designed for life, built for the future.
I want to talk about also Super League. You were there at the coalface with the Raiders when that all happened. Yeah. Crazy money getting handed out.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, and I can remember. I was with the Bureau of Stats, so I was just this young kid, and that was in the era where you'd work from 9 to 4. We'd all carpool out to training, and then you'd probably get $1,000 a year if you played X amount of games. And so I was at the Bureau, and I think about $20,000 a year, and then all of a sudden, all these. I remember it happened a few weeks leading up. We flew to North Queensland to play a game, and Sheensy was going, "There's going to be a few disruptions here, but don't worry about it. Concentrate on the game. You'll find out about it later." Yep. There was blokes going up elevators and lawyers and everything there, and sort of got out a bit. We played there. Then he said, "You other younger kids will be looked after when we get back to Canberra." So I remember it being at Seaford Oval, and there's all these guys, just these suits coming in. So they really didn't know anything about football. But they were there just to go, "Okay, how many games did you play? All right, well, you come under this criteria. We're going to give you X amount of money." So me, I suppose, I was probably a little bit more switched on, and my dad sort of taught me a few tricks, and he went, "No, you tell them this and that." So I'd only played about 2 games, and I remember going in because guys were telling me there was a criteria.
Yep.
And they said, "Oh, so you play first grade?" I said, "Absolutely. Yes, I played first grade." And I played all in 94. And they went, "Oh, really? We thought you only played a few games." I said, No, I won the grand final. And they went, Oh, wow.
You're a premiership player.
Yeah. I said, "So I've won the premiership, And I think this was the start of 95. And I was going, I'm a rookie of the year, blah, blah, blah. And And they're going, oh, holy dilly. So all of a sudden
Your stock start to rise.
stocks start to rise. So my sign-on fee, instead of being, say, 50,000, went up to 100,000, and they offered me X amount of money. And because it was ludicrous money, everyone was just signing and going, yeah, I mean, give us me check, because they're giving you a check right there. And I went, you know what? No, I don't accept that at the moment. I'm not going to sign on. I'm going to go away and think about it. And they went, oh. So they then got back to Tim Sheen and said, is this guy really important to you? And he goes, yes, it is. Yes, he is. Well, give him what he wants. So I end up saying, oh, no, I want, instead of 150, I want 200 and this amount sign on. So when they said, all right, come over to one of Rupert Murdoch's houses in, I think it was in, what's the sub, the Yarralumla or whatever, over there, and sign it. We've got the amended contract for you to come over and sign.
Yep.
So my dad was with me. He came down and I said, come, we'll go over. Well, when we went to sign the contract, instead of being, say, 200,000, it was 300,000. So they'd actually, because they were suits and not rugby league people, they'd actually made a mistake with the figure. And I went, and he walked out. He said, I'll give you a moment in the room for you and your father to look at the thing. I went, Dad, they've put the wrong figure on. And he went, fucking sign it.
So it was about 300,000, was it?
Something around those figures, yeah. Well, I was only meant to get X amount.
Yeah. It was crazy too at the
hopefully
time.
they can't come back at me with that now, can they, 30 years down the track?
Oh, well, who knows, mate. But it was crazy times because I heard a story. It was even the local Newcastle competition. There was a young player. His name was Dagwell. He was playing for West.
Ryan Dagwell?
Ryan Dagwell.
Yeah, know him well.
And I think he was only 19 at the time, and I don't think he was I think he played reserve grade, but he's just starting to break into first grade at West. And I think at the time, obviously, the Knights were going with the ARL, the tug of war, and Cronulla's offered him, I think it was, don't quote me on this, but around $50,000.
Yeah.
He hadn't, signs it, but never plays one game for Cronulla.
Yeah.
It was just a case of locking them up just to make sure that
that's what it was.
The Knights
and there was a lot of right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Guys that were on about $2,000 end up signing 3-year deals for $300,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? That's crazy money.
Right. And obviously it took you to some certain places, like the World Club Challenge.
The World Club. Yeah.
But that was. You said it was rigged. Did you think it was rigged? Again, in regards to they wanted to have 2 English teams and 2 Australian teams playing in the semi-finals, so it made it very hard to make the final.
Yeah, I think when they first started,
He's a bit of
when they looked at the disparity between the gap between the English teams and the Australian teams, because they came out here in those first few games, like we were beating Wigan 50, 60 to 0.
Yeah. I think this is against the London Broncos. So this would be the first game you played. You had to play 3 games over there.
Yeah, that was over there. Yeah, and we thought we'd won all 3 in Australia, and we thought we'd go over there and win all 3 over there easily. I think this game we were up 14-0, and we were all laughing and giggling. Hello, there he goes, and we ended up getting beat. And so you only had to lose 1 game, and you're out of the running because
Right.
The Australian teams had to win all 6, I think.
And you had to play every weekend, so you had pretty much 3 weeks over there.
Yeah, 3 weeks. And the guys like Laurie and that who'd done kangaroo tours, they were saying it was just like a kangaroo tour. Like it was such a great time.
Yeah,
we just did we road tripped up to Scotland and Edinburgh and then we went to the Ashes because when we got back to when we were staying in Leeds, which was our base, so were the Aussie cricket team.
Right. So essentially, once you got knocked out, look at that. That's a great pick.
Yeah. Hey. Warney, God bless him.
But I mean, essentially, it was once you're knocked out, it's like an end-of-season trip.
That's what it became. It was out of control. Yeah.
So you somehow rock up to Trent Bridge, the famous Trent Bridge, where Australia wins the '97 Ashes.
Yeah.
Warney's on the balcony with the stump.
Yeah, they clenched it. Yes.
Yeah, and this is footage never seen.
Yeah, that's it.
And so you guys turn up at the ground.
Well, we still.
Is that?
Oh, here we go. Give me a second. That's it. Oh my God. never smoked, and I'd said to Warnie, "Look, we're doing." Wow, how embarrassing!
How did you even get into the ground dressed like that?
Well, what it was again, I suppose, larrikin attitude. I remember the night we played Halifax. I think the night before we all went out. And the Aussie guys invited us to the cricket. There's
there's our current New South Wales coach.
There he is. They invite us into the cricket sheds, and they said we'd like you to be our special guest. And I said, well, how about we go and make a fancy dress? So I drove down the road in a cab. I forget who it was with. Anyway, I said, give me 30 lady singlets and 30 wigs. And so that's how we went dressed like that. And it was great. Mel came out in the morning. He just put it straight on. He goes, yeah, I'm going. So it was an amazing day.
So you're in the dressing room and you're just running amok.
We were running amok.
It looked like you were celebrating harder than the cricketers.
Oh, we were. It was crazy. And they never invite people back into the dressing room. So we didn't realise what, getting inside that inner sanctum. So we did take it probably too far. But they loved it. There was blokes going through roos and bats getting taken, and then we partied into the night.
Yeah,
because they stayed at the same hotel back at the Headingley, and there's some
and apparently
wild stories.
Say a baggy green went missing.
A baggy green went missing. There was.
Who we got?
Yeah, I think it might have been Brendan Julian lost his baggy green.
Well, Michael Casper?
One of those guys. Anyway,
because we were spooling through this earlier.
Ricky Ponting never played the next game because they said he was injured, but Ricky Ponting was the drunkest man alive. Yeah, he was just getting ragdolled by like Jason Croker.
I think we're getting to a bit. We might be solving the mystery to who's got that baggy green. Just in this is Ricky Stewart dressed.
Yeah, mate. I'll swap you. I'll swap you a footy jumper for one of those hats. A footy jumper for one of those hats.
And there's the current Raiders coach.
So
you're looking good. Cats are doing that.
So at the next press conference, maybe you should be asked: Has he
still got it?
Got the whole? Got a baggy green?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think someone just misplaced it and then pointed the finger at us. But that was one of the most amazing experiences of our life. We got in there and watched the guys sing there under the Southern Cross, and to spend the night with them and exchange jumpers and whatnot. It was and still have a bit of footage there.
I think Laurie Daly said you were the unofficial entertainment director for the trip.
There you go. Oh well, yeah, because actually, I was so excited for the World Club Challenge that I went and I remember buying the first VHS, and back then it was like $1,200, and I went, how good is this, and I was taking the footage.
Obviously
whatever.
before iPhones. This
is before the advent of phones, and then by the end of the trip, that was one of our last nights. I remember waking up with shaving cream all over me, Smarties all over me after the thing, and then my video camera in about 1,000 pieces, and I just went, oh no. So we're lucky to get that footage.
And it's something about you with Jason Croker with a cricket bat. Someone said you cracked him over the head or something.
I was cracking him over the head in the change rooms, and that's where Shane Warne was just watching going, I can't believe these blokes. And Toots was going, hit me again. And I smashed him over the head. Everyone started going, one more. Then Toots, I remember pulling out his false teeth, got Warnie's hand and said, here, hold this. And Warnie's just holding his false teeth, just going, who are these blokes?
You seem to find yourself in positions. It's almost like the wrong place at the right time throughout your life, just like that.
Yeah.
But even it goes back to when you were young. Greg Norman.
Yeah. I had I suppose as a kid, you're just inquisitive and you just want to. So I remember going over to Canberra to watch the ESP Open in golf, and Greg Norman were over there. Greg Norman, Bernard Langer, and my sister's boyfriend at the time was almost a professional golfer, and he was close friends with Peter O'Malley. So I said, do you want to go and watch the golf on the weekend? So I said, okay. So we followed, obviously, Norman's the big star, so we followed him around all day, followed Peter O'Malley, and then at the end, when they walked off the 18th green, I was just standing there and they lifted up the rope for Greg Norman and Bernard Langer to go under. And then I just shot straight under with them, and the security guard just went, and I went, yeah, no worries. So up I followed them into the ABC box, and watched them. I just got straight into it was one of the like the what are the bloody square.
Like a demountable.
Yeah, like a demountable.
Yeah.
Demountable.
Yeah.
So we're in the demountable, and I just sat there and
Watched him sign the
and
card.
Greg Norman's like from me here, the end of the table away, doing his card, and I'm just looking over there, and the ABC are in there with all the film crews are going. He's just signing his card, making sure it's correct.
Yeah.
And then he put out his can of Solo, and then he left, and so I just grabbed his can of Solo. I was looking at the camera, grabbed his can of Solo, and just went and left. I couldn't believe it, and took it home with me as a memento. And the next day, obviously going back to Young, people come up to me still going, you were all over the ABC and that, and I was going, yeah, that was me, yeah. So I had that amazing little experience with Greg Norman, and then a few years later, same thing in Canberra. Just looking in the dressing sheds, I went and watched because I used to follow Canterbury Bankstown, and I watched them play in Canberra, and I was just walking back around, and I saw Jason Ouch, and I remember leaning on the back of the door, and I looked in there to see if I could look at the players and what they looked like and stuff, and I knew a guy in the sheds, and he's like, come in. So I went in the sheds again, 16, just going, how good's this? And long story short, I got Andrew Farrer's shorts, I got, Joey Thomas's socks, and they got asked at the end there, they all left, everyone left the thing, and they said, are you with us? You coming back on the bus to Canterbury? And I said, yes and no. And they said, well, can you just stay here while you wait for a few other players to come out of the showers? And I said, yeah, no worries. So I just sat there, and the last two players come out. I remember Joey Thomas was one of them, and he had a chat to him, and he gave me some more Canterbury apparel. And it was just another one of those moments where I just didn't hesitate, and it was a great little experience. I remember that week I played football for the school back in Young.
Yeah.
And there was no way in the world I wasn't wearing Andrew Farrow shorts. And they were a completely different colour. But I said to my PE teacher, who was the coach, he goes, you can't wear them. I said, I'm wearing them. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
What year would that have been?
That would have been 1988.
Wow.
1988.
And they won the comp that year.
Yeah, and they won the comp.
Wow.
Yeah, to beat the Tigers.
Michael Hagan.
Michael Hagan, great friends with Hagues. He's a champion.
It's funny, we were just getting back to Super League a little bit there. We were just talking off camera before that Michael Hagan was in that position where he was sort of heading up the Hunter Mariners.
Yeah.
Which at the time, if you were a Hunter Mariners supporter in Newcastle, you were like,
you were scum.
And then only a few years later, he's coaching the Knights in 2001 to the Premiership. It was one of those things where you were either you were going to be on board or not. Were Canberra on board right from the start with that?
The Super League?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. But I think they were trying to pull Ricky, use the point, Ricky and Laurie as the ARL, and it was just about who's got the biggest checkbook, I think.
Yeah. It's sort of like it sounds very similar to Kerry Packer, when with World Series cricket, we just need to sign these players and at all costs.
Yeah, get as many on board as you can, and open up the checkbook, and just said crazy times.
Yeah. Well, in regards to being in another right place at the wrong time, even an AFL grand final recently, you smuggled your way.
Yeah. Is that in regards to the free cup of coffee?
Well,
yeah. Well, so Mark Fitzgibbon was on the board for the Knights.
Yeah.
He was head of NIB.
Yeah.
And I briefly knew Mark. Anyway, he came into the shop one day, and he was packed. It was a busy Sunday, and he got a cappuccino, and I said, yeah, no worries. And I gave him a flat stick, and he said, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I said, not much. I said, here's your cappuccino. He goes, I'll pay you. I said, no, don't worry about it, mate. It's all good. He goes, yeah, no, sure. And I said, no, that's all right. And he goes, what are you doing on the weekend? And I said, nothing much. I said, I'm not meant to be working, but that could change. And he's like, I said, what are you up to? He said, I'm going to the AFL. I said, all right, the local AFL. He said, no, the one in Melbourne. And I said, the local AFL. And I said, that'd be great. Yeah, very good. And he goes, no, the one in Melbourne. I said, wow. I said, that's on the bucket list. I'd love to do that. That'd be all time. And he goes, okay. He goes, you want to come? And I went, what, the AFL grand final in Melbourne? He goes, yeah. He goes, look, I'm a major sponsor, NIB. He said, I've got 4 tickets. You want to come? And I went, he goes, well, don't think about it too hard. I went, yeah, I'll come. So I went, all right, what'll I do? I said, I just organise my flights down, get to the airport or whatever. And the accommodation goes, no, it's all paid for. He said, I'll get my chauffeur to pick you up, my driver to pick you up Saturday morning, got accommodation, and we'll go to the footy, and then that's it. And I said, okay, no worries. So on that Saturday morning, his limo picks me up. I go to the airport. We stay in the penthouse in the city, have a bite to eat. All right, we go to the footy. Here I am. We walk in, and all of a sudden, we're in the presidential suite, and we're on the main table. So the Hawthorn were playing Geelong, and I'm sitting on a table with Daryl Summers, Eddie Maguire, Jeff Kennett. Like, it's out of control.
And they're looking at you going,
And
who are you?
they look at me, the head of Geelong, Fitzy sits down, they're all shaking hands, going, oh, how are you? And they go, oh, Luke, and what do you do? I went, I just own a restaurant in Newcastle. We've got the Governor General there, Quentin Bryce. It was out of control. So it was an amazing experience to all see. It's good to give. The lesson I always say to people, it's good to give because, one cup of coffee got me that experience, which was just out of this world. And then that continued on. We end up every year there. We had the Cats tour. So we went down and I found myself in the middle of the pitch there a few times, tossing the coin for the game day coin, which was amazing. So
God, well, you'll be doing the welcome to country soon.
you never know. I reckon I'll be able to squeeze myself in there somewhere.
Just staying on, you like to give. You once loaned Eddie Hayson a lot of money.
Yes.
The brothel owning gambler.
Yeah. Eddie's
how much did you give him?
Colourful identity. I gave Eddie a lot of money. And we're still in touch. I think it was documented in the paper a long time ago that there was $1 million loan there, and that's ebbed and flowed.
So you reckon it was more?
I'd say it's be upwards of that easy, but
2.9 million.
Something like that. If that's the figure you've got, it's definitely mind blowing.
So you lent him $1 million, but you were lending him more after that.
Yeah. It's crazy when you think about, try and comprehend, what I was doing. But look, there was there were some business opportunities there for me, some stuff, just trying to help people out, being too trusting, I guess, too naive.
Yeah.
Thinking also that the money pot that I had, the money I was earning was never going to end. And then all of a sudden you get yourself into a situation going, oh, hang on, that's not going to come to fruition. My money's drying up. I've gotten myself into a situation here, and it's more the fact of what I did with my money that is taken away an opportunity, I suppose, to make my kids secure.
Yeah.
So, look, we make decisions in life. We make mistakes, and you learn some harsh lessons. But at the end of the day, even with Eddie, look, Eddie's just recently got out of prison. And we still remain in contact. I still regard him as a good friend. And look, maybe one day that money will come back. But ultimately,
Are you ever going to broach that subject? With him. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a good friend. You say, "Hey, you're going to."
He does. He mentions it. He mentions it more so than I do. But
So he still says he's going to be good for
yeah,
it.
yeah. He said, "It's all, mate. I'll make my way back, and you'll get the money." I said, "It's no good to me when I'm 98, just about to kick the bucket." But look, ultimately, I look at it this way. I had the choice. No one forced me to lend money to anyone. I made that choice, so I have to live with it. I can't blame anyone, and that's what it's like. So, something again in me going back to my childhood, feeling not good enough or whatever, but or feeling like you have to be the one to give. So, I've always been a generous person. Mm-hmm. Whether that's to be liked or something like that, who knows? There's psychology behind it, but slowly I'm learning. Do you want $50 after this, Michael?
Mate, I don't know. A cool 1 million would be good.
Yes, it'd be coming handy.
Yeah.
But anyway, as you get older, you realise you don't need much. I mean, that sort of money lending's ridiculous, but it is when you come to a place in your life where you're sort of content. I'm now as long I'm very
when he came to ask you in the first place, can you lend me this money?
Yeah.
Did the alarm bells go off, or did you just go, "Yep, absolutely"?
No, not really. It wasn't quite that simple. He was look, I had a cash driven business. He had an opportunity. He could, if I gave him the cash, he could put that cash into something else, and probably into my bank account, or give me a tab ticket to quantify that money. So it was a up and down balance, and anyway.
Just in regards to your family, you mentioned that your son he plays AFL. He's just had a bad injury recently.
Just yesterday, the poor bugger. He's an amazing young man. He just came back from knee reconstruction, done so much work on himself for playing AFL, and a few games in to coming back. Yesterday he redid it, same knee. It's as anyone knows, being a parent, it just makes you sink in the stomach, knowing the hard work he's done. But look, he's quite upbeat. He's like, I've done it before, Dad. I knew what I was risking, sort of doing it, and he's just got to go through the process now of rehabbing, and I think that's his AFL career gone. He was just in the throes of getting a career in the fire brigade and studying psychology. So he'll get there. Again, it's just a harsh lesson for him that he's got to go through. And
because you've got a special bond with your three kids, haven't you? I mean, he still lives at home with you, but you pretty much have brought them up the last 10 years.
Yeah, I have.
Why is that?
Again, everyone's got their story to tell, and none's more important than another. But my kid's mother, she had a battle with alcoholism, and never really got that under control. So, and that stems back from a fair way. And and I realise I played my part in that. There's you can never blame anyone, but
what did you do?
I don't know, but well, just in relationships, there's the dynamic of a relationship, as infidelity, or I guess when you don't see eye to eye, can push a person to a certain way. But by no means, again, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So these are just band-aids that people just use to hide their pain, and I think I've been looking after my kids now, as you said, for about the last 10 years. But this was an ongoing thing, probably when you look back, hindsight, that had started way, way before then. But, they don't really have a lot of contact with their mother, which is sad. But, they are wonderful kids, and they've been brought up by me with love and honesty and understanding. We go and see psychologists as a family, as individuals, just to get the tools we need to deal with, our feelings and to get through life and to process, their feelings, I guess, of abandonment or whatever. So, we do a lot of work as a family. I'm, really proud of them. We're really open. So again, it's their story. I always say to my kids, look, this is your story, kids. It's not ideal, but, no one's been killed. No one's been raped. We don't live, in Gaza or whatever. So count your blessings, and you can make, you can take this story and go that way, rather than be a victim or, let it affect you in a certain way. So, so in that regard, I look at them and they're amazing. And when you hear people tell you stuff, because we all work in the shop together.
Are they still going to work there now?
Actually, my daughter's staying on. Yeah, she's staying on as the operations manager for the new guy coming in. So, again, she's I'm so proud of all three of them. But she's made for this sort of stuff. She's just she's a good girl, and she's
Another person that's part of your family we'd like to talk about is your sister Nicola.
Oh, Nicole.
Yes.
You must have been talking about the Italian version.
Or is it Cheetah from Gladiators?
Cheetah.
We've got some vision. There she is there.
Yeah. God, love her. I had a coffee with her yesterday. She briefly moved back to Newcastle, but she's going back to the Sunshine
Look at
Coast.
these gladiators.
There she is.
I reckon this show could make a reboot.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I was telling you the other day, that's what I said. Wow. That's good footage. Oof.
Man, what was the reaction with your teammates? Because she was in a prime doing this when you were playing.
Yeah. Yes, well, as I said, when Nicole would turn up to games and be outside the bus, most of the players would go, geez, I want to root your sister. I just gave, really? Do you have to? Anyway, she would turn up to games. It was hilarious. And I like, if it was Cheetah and Statue in this day and age, we were 30 years before our time, given the professionalism of sport and, the marketability, I'd probably be cashing in my checks and our endorsements would be crazy, but we're probably just before our time back then. But, she would come to a game, God love her, in a Gladiators jacket, and I'd just go, oh, jeez. Anyway, I can just distinctly remember a couple of games, one at North Sydney Oval, and Cheetah turned up and we won the game, and I got on the bus. And generally,
I love how you call her a cheetah.
Cheetah, yeah.
Cheetah.
And generally, as you'd leave the ground in the back of the dressing sheds, there'd be thousands of people waiting for Laurie and Ricky and, Mal and that. And this day, there was just no one. Loz and that walked straight out and got on the bus. And then we looked over, and here in the silver jacket with the big gladiator on the back was Cheetah. And she was just silent. She was just swarmed.
But she stole the show.
She stole the show. And all the boys were on the bus going, unbelievable. So, but yeah, no, that was I'm really proud of what Nicole achieved in, in Gladiators. And, yeah. God love her. She's a Jehovah's Witness now.
Oh, wow.
Married into the Jehovah's Witness, yeah. She's been a Jehovah for about 20 years.
In regards to when she was at a prime, I mean, doing that, I mean, did you, the fitness levels must have been, it's not like you had tackling her out in the backyard or something. Or
she reckons she got a lot of her skills, she reckons, from out in the backyard in our childhood, tackling and playing games. But it was, I became really good friends with guys like Mike Whitney. I used to go to a few shows, and it was actually funny because one time they wanted to do a celebrity gladiators, and so they wanted me and her as brother and sister.
Yeah.
But they said I was too big because they said, oh, you're over 180. And they used to like getting the contestants smaller so that the gladiators could win.
Right.
Anyway, they said, all right, well, we can't have your brother because he's too big. He's 185 and he's over 100 kilos. How about we get someone else? So they said, oh, we'll get Jason Croker. And because Jason Croker was only 5 foot tall, but he's built like a Mack truck, they went, oh, he's only 5 foot tall, 5'5", whatever. Toots said, we'll get him. And Toots was the strongest man on the planet. So we went up there. So we went up for the Gladiators All-Stars, and Toots was in there. And I think the same thing again. We went up. They put us up in the hotel. First night we went out and went on the town with the Gladiators, and I remember having Toots had Flame on his shoulders and Storm, and he's spinning them around and he's sculling rums. And anyway, the next day they had that started, and Toots was down through going through the tunnel. I forget what it was called. Anyway, you just saw these gladiators going. He broke the world record. He just got through. I just going, what have we done? Who have we got here?
Wow.
Toots went on to win. He went on to win the All-Stars and got himself a jet ski and got it souped up and everything that he does. But, it was an amazing time.
Another amazing, I wouldn't say that this was an amazing time. Well, it was an amazing time, but it sort of turned on its head pretty quick, was the wedding the baby's head.
Oh, yeah, my son.
Was that yeah.
Yeah.
So you set the scene, you're all gone out to...
Yeah, well, my first son, again, Bailey, God love him, he just did his knee. He was born in Canberra Hospital, and I played the next day. So I remember playing and got man of the match. I thought,
You know what? There's a science behind that. Someone, I think I was listening to, it might have been the Big Sports Breakfast, and they had... they used to do the sports bets, on there. I think they still do. But they, I can't remember what it was. I think it was TK said one day that always back a golfer his next tournament after his wife has delivered a baby. They'll 9 times out of 10 win. It's like something that makes them,
Yeah, something that must come. You bring this new life into the world, and it must be wiring and firing your neurotransmitters or something that brings in. It might be oxytocin. Who knows that creates in your body and increases your adrenaline. But I remember the next day my son was born, I got man of the match.
Yep.
So everyone, hey, we're going to go out this night and we're going to wet statue's baby's head, Bailey. So we're at this nightclub. Next thing, again, long story short, someone came in and goes, there's a big brawl out the front. All the guys are in a fight. And I was at the bar and they said, Ruben and Kenny and Byrne and that are out there. They had a disagreement with this other group in the nightclub and they were out the front. Anyway, there was a scuffles going on everywhere, and I came out. I remember with Craig Simon, I was standing at the door, and I'm never been a fighter, but I was just watching what was going on, and there was chaos. Anyway, I could see one of these guys, the look in his eye, the panic in his eye to try and get to his car. And he's getting grabbed, I think, by Ruben or whoever. Anyway, it's just something in your intuition that could just tell us that something's going on here. And the fright and the look in this guy's eyes, and so we started walking over. As he went to, he was desperate to get the car door open. He got the car. I was right there as he opened the door. He got his hand under the front seat and pulled out a pistol, this brand new semi-automatic. This is what the police told me after. So as he's pulled it out, I knew, it's funny, something in your mind. He was reaching for something. Anyway, as he's pulled it out, Craig Simon and I bumped his arm, and I can remember this hit, this big thud of this pistol falling at my feet. I just automatically grabbed it and just hoiked it as far as I could, and it landed on the roof of the club we're at and having a drink. Next thing, pandemonium still kept happening. Jason Craig got hit over the head with the star picket. There was this chaos. Police end up coming. Yeah, this is the night my son was born.
Yeah.
And police said, what's gone on? And I tried to give him a different name because I said I didn't want a bar of it. Anyway, and then they found out that, you give us the wrong name, tell us what happened. So I said, look, I threw a gun on the roof. So I had to go up on the roof with a ladder with the forensics, and they found the gun, obviously with my fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, they said to us later on, they said, that's this brand new semi-automatic pistol that's just come into Australia. They said it was loaded and there was a bullet in the chamber ready to go. If that guy had have got a hold of that gun properly, he might have, who knows, it could have been a completely different story. And I still, every now and then to this day, think back to that moment and go, wow, like that gives me chills knowing that, who knows what could have happened. But, so that was...
Did this make the press?
It made the press.
Yeah.
It was like the next day all over the Daily Telegraph, Jason Croker, because he got hit over the head with the star picket by one of the other members who they were fighting with.
Yeah.
So he got hit over the head with the star picket. I went to hospital to break the news to my wife, and she just had Bailey. He's there with he's got jaundice, so he's got this he's lit up like a little glow bug, and then she's in there going... And then the paper's on the bed, and I walked in and went, hi, and she's like, what's going on? What's happened? Like, it's ridiculous. So, yes, that was an experience I never want to relive ever again.
There's so many experiences. What about Cuba Gooding Jr.?
Oh, yeah.
So you met him. How was that? Was it?
It was amazing. Again, just a sliding doors moment. So I went to New York and America for my 40th, just with my wife, and not just with my wife, but with my wife. We shared the same birthday. She was turning 38, so we went over to New York. were there for 9 days, and downstairs was a nightclub bar thing that you got to know them pretty well once you've been down there, particularly if you're Australian. You know, they're like, hey, here comes the Aussie, man, you know. So I think I went to meet up with another friend down in Midtown one night, had a drink with Brian Carney's brother, Liam, and went by myself and came back and then was pretty topped up. And the big bouncer out the front was, hey, Luke, come in for a drink. I said, oh, it's my birthday. And I said, I better not come in. I'm a bit under the weather. You know, I've had a bit too many. He's like, no worries, man. In you come. You're all right. All good. So at the front door, there was 2 ladies and they were sitting there going, oh, you Australian, you an Aussie? And I said, yeah. So, and started talking to them. And one ended up being a world-renowned operatic singer. The other one had just got her PhD in medicine. Like, so these ladies, I was just like, wow, this is unbelievable. And I can never remember the lady's name who was a world-renowned operatic singer, but like her CV was ridiculous. Anyway, so we went inside. I said, come on, I'll buy you a cocktail or whatever. They said, we'll buy you one at your birthday, because I showed them a license. It was like, oh. Anyway, so they went inside, bought me a cocktail. Anyway, they said, we're talking about maybe must have been, you know, your life or whatever. And I said, look, I love my wife, I love my life, and I wish you my kind of success. And they said, is that Jerry Maguire? I said, yeah, that's Dickie Fox, you know, the great Dickie Fox, you know. And they go, look over there, there's Cuba Gooding Jr. I said, get out of town. So I looked over there.
You're not making these stories up, are you?
No, well, it's like most of my stories, you would think they were made up if you didn't.
I don't think you could even think about it.
You couldn't make them up. So Cuba Gooding's over there. I just went, I am going over to say hello, and it's my birthday, and I went, I'm not going to take no for an answer. So I went over there. He was sitting on his own with a minder, and he's like, so it was crazy. I said,
and the fact that, you know, you've come over to him and the Aussie voice, the Aussie accent,
yeah, straight away
sucks them in,
sucks them straight in. I said, look, it's my birthday. Can I buy you a drink? And he was like, no, but I'll buy you one. In the end, he came over and joined myself and these 2 ladies, and we ended up just playing games, and you know, all night I was just like, hello, Brother Maguire. And he's going, man.
You didn't play out this scene. If you did, it would have been the funniest thing. Where is it?
Oh yeah.
You didn't reenact this scene, did you?
Jerry! Yeah, what can I do for you, Rod? You just tell me, what can I do for you?
It's a very personal, very important thing. Hell, it's a family motto. Are you ready, Jerry?
I'm ready.
Just want to make sure you're ready, brother. Here it is. Show me the money.
I'm sure there was those quotes were thrown around. It was actually one of those times where I actually had to pull out my card and and show them who I was. Like, so because I was so like Cuba Gooding, this operatic singer, you know, I felt a bit insignificant. So they were like, what are you doing? So I flicked up. I said, well, here I am on the internet. And they were like, oh, you're one of those mad Aussies. You play that game with no pads. And so that got me a bit of, I suppose, on their level. They're like, oh, wow, it's crazy. So, yeah, that was a really good time.
Mate, what's next for you? Like, you know, have you thought about it? I mean, I suppose it's the cafe was for sale for a while. Have you had some thought about the next chapter?
People ask that all the time, and look, because they go, oh, you haven't got a plan, and they sort of are amazed that you don't have a plan. Look, I've been doing hospitality and stuff for 17 and a half years, and it takes so much out of you, like the energy I've had to give to staff, to customers, as I said, raising my family on my own for so long to try and hold a relationship down. I'm just going to take 6 months of doing absolutely nothing, just actually shedding my skin, you know, even trying to get my cortisol levels back under control, because you don't realise each day you get up when you're owning small business that you're in fight or flight mode all the time. And so you get up and you go, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. So straight away your nervous system's just going.
Yeah.
And so I just want to take the time to let that come back under control, just get up, have nowhere to be, nothing to do. You know, when you say nothing to do, there's still plenty to do in life, you know. Still,
You think you'll stay in Newcastle?
I think so. I mean, you never say never, but as I said, there's a few. I would like to do a bit of travel. Yeah. Definitely want to do some travel. And now that I've got a clean space, I have the capacity to take whatever in. You know, I'm catching up with Adam McDougall next week. You know, he's a good mate from our footy days, and I know and everyone knows how successful he's been. Yeah. I just want to pick his brain. You know what I mean? I get the opportunity now that I've got the capacity to actually absorb some stuff.
Yeah, that's one guy you should have lent some money to early.
Yeah, true. See, these mistakes we make. Anyway, so I don't know what's next, but I just know, and I've always had, I guess, that belief that it's going to be okay because I'm not prepared. I'm prepared to do whatever it takes, you know, to make something happen. So I'm not afraid of hard work. You make some mistakes along the way, but you as long as you learn by those mistakes. I'm just really looking forward to what is next and just, I guess, hurrying slowly. Just going to smell the roses for a while, bit of self-care, and then, you know, I'm pretty sure something will come my way. And I'm a firm believer in the universe unfolds as it should. So what's meant for me will come my way. If it's not, you know,
well, Luke,
so be it.
Luke Davico, thanks for sharing your incredible life with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Get to the beach.
Cheers, mate. Go on ya.